Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're taking a really fascinating deep dive into one of the most celebrated, and let's be honest, notoriously unforgiving video games of all time, Dark Souls. Now, we aren't here today to talk about gameplay mechanics, frame rates, or how to cheese a boss. Instead, we're using this explainer to peel back the layers of the heartbreaking, hidden secrets that are baked so deeply into this legendary game's universe.
So think about this for a second. Have you ever defeated a video game boss, felt that incredible rush of adrenaline and triumph, only to realize, moments later that you were the actual villain of the story? It's a pretty provocative question, right? Dark Souls is basically a masterclass in subverting the typical hero's journey. You're dropped into the world of Lord Ran, assuming you're this prophesied savior destined to slay monsters. But as you'll see, your triumphs are almost always built on a foundation of profound tragedy.
All right, Section 1, the hidden lore of Dark Souls, the iceberg of Lordran.
So this game famously makes you work really hard just to piece together its story, and it does this by relying heavily on environmental storytelling. In Dark Souls, you don't get a handy quest log. There's no morality meter ticking up or down to tell you if you're being a good person or not. There isn't even a built-in encyclopedia. Instead, the narrative is conveyed through the world design itself. You have to read the descriptions of the armor you pick up and pay super close attention to highly obscure dialogue. It's like a giant puzzle. You effectively have to become a detective to truly understand the weight of your actions in this world.
Moving on to Section 2, the flame of chaos, a disastrous ambition. To understand the origin of the game's absolute greatest tragedies, we really have to look at the ancient history of this universe. Way back in the primeval era, a powerful figure known as the Witch of Izalith finds a Lord Soul. Now, driven by ambition, or maybe it was just pure hubris, she attempts to use her soul to literally duplicate the first flame, which is the source of all life and disparity in the world. But disaster strikes. Her experiment fails spectacularly. This uncontrollable flame of chaos erupts and engulfs her, mutating her and her daughters into horrific, deformed demons and giving birth to a terrifying entity known as the Bed of Chaos. She essentially doomed her entire family in one fell swoop.
Which leads us directly to the ruins of Lost Izalith. This is a magma-filled city located deep beneath the poisonous swamps of Blighttown. Visually, the developers actually based this architecture entirely on Cambodia's real-world Angkor Wat. It's stunning. But in the lore, this was once a booming, magnificent city that was just completely overrun, corrupted, and ultimately destroyed by the very demons born from the witch's catastrophic mistake.
Section 3, the tragedy of Quelag, the monster you became. Let's look at how this ancient disaster in Lost Izalith directly manipulates you into committing a truly horrific act. From your perspective as a player, you walk into Quelag's domain and you see an evil, half-human, half-spider demon. She shoots lava at you, and she aggressively blocks your path to ringing the second bell of awakening, which is your main objective at this point. But the heartbreaking reality? Quelag is one of the mutated daughters of the Witch of Izalith who actually managed to escape the total madness of her family. She isn't evil. She is just a desperate, fiercely protective sister. She's literally only attacking you to harvest your humanity so she can feed it to her blind, deaf, and dying sister known as the Fair Lady. She's just trying to ease her constant agony.
And it gets worse. If you find the Fair Lady after killing Quelag and you happen to be wearing a really obscure item called the Old Witch's Ring, you can finally understand her language. Because she's completely blind, she actually mistakes you for her sister. She whispers to you, "Sister, the eggs have stopped moving. I fear it may be too late." You killed her soul protector, and she has absolutely no idea. She is just sitting there in the dark, waiting for a sister who's never coming back.
The community's realization of this whole situation is perfectly summarized by this quote from a Reddit user. They said, "I was feeling like a hero. Now I feel like scum." This brilliantly hits the nail on the head regarding how the developers subvert our expectations. They set you up to feel like this triumphant monster slayer, only to let you slowly piece together the lore and realize, wait, I just invaded someone's home and murdered a loving sister who was only acting in self-defense? You realize that you are the monster.
Okay, Section 4, Solaire's false son, a descent into madness. Now, Quelag isn't the only casualty of the Chaos Flame. But before we talk about the fan-favorite character Solaire of Astora, we need to quickly understand the concept of hollowing. This is a cursed process where an undead loses their purpose, their memory, and their sanity, eventually turning into a mindless, hostile creature. For an undead in this universe, having a singular, driving purpose is literally the only thing keeping you sane. And Solaire's immense, singular purpose? It's his desperate search to find his very own son.
But if Solaire's quest leads him down into the depths of Lost Izalith, it ends in such dark irony. You eventually find him muttering, "I am the sun! I've done it! I did!" He's gone completely mad. And what's on his head? It's a parasitic chaos demon known as a sunlight maggot. It emits this bright light, mimicking the sun he so desperately wanted, but it has completely taken over his mind, forcing you to strike down your most loyal friend.
Actually, wait, there is a silver lining here. The game's creator, Hidetaka Miyazaki, revealed a secret alternative. He said, "I think that the happiest ending for him is to die by becoming the sun." What he means by this is if you use a hidden shortcut to kill that sunlight maggot before Solaire finds it, Solaire doesn't go mad. Instead, you can summon him to help defeat the final boss, Gwyn. After which, in his own separate timeline, Solaire links the first flame, so he doesn't just find the sun. Through his sacrifice, he actually becomes the sun.
Section 5. The Legacy of Chaos, an Inescapable Fate.
The devastating impact of the Witch's hubris isn't just contained to the first game either. It ripples outward across all the sequels. In Dark Souls 2, the massive cathedral city of Eliam Lois was built specifically to appease the raging old chaos. The noble Ivory King actually sacrificed his own magnificent soul just to contain it. The brave knights of Lois plunged into the flames and completely lost their sense of self, burning in agony forever. And if you fast forward all the way to Dark Souls 3, you actually find the petrified dead body of the fair lady we talked about earlier. This one ancient mistake just continues to claim noble lives centuries later.
So, all of this really begs a vital question. What happens to those who fight the chaos? What actually happens when characters in this universe attempt to change their seemingly doomed fates?
When we tie it all together, we see the inescapable, totally destructive nature of the lore across the entire franchise. Look at this. The Witch of Izalith tried to recreate the first flame and mutated into a demon. Quellav fought to save her sister and was murdered by you. The Ivory King devoted everything he had to protecting his land and was just devoured by the flames. It's wild. Every single noble intention is met with an equally tragic fate.
Which leaves us with this final, powerful question to think about. In a world where every triumph hides a tragedy, is the true villain simply the fading of the light? The entire structure of Dark Souls forces us to rethink everything we know about video game heroism. You aren't just fighting monsters out there. You're navigating the sad, desperate remnants of a dying world. It really makes you hunger to explore every single item description, just to uncover what other incredible secrets are hiding in the dark. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it completely shifted your perspective on the game, and I'll catch you next time.